So there will be three planets going into retrograde.
Retrograde.
We love ret. We're on this learning journey just like many of you might be. Think of us as your curious companions as we stumble, learn, and hopefully gain some genuine insights.
So, if you're curious about your birth chart, wondering what the tarot card really means, or just looking for some relatable company on your spiritual learning path, then Stars and Shuffles is for you. Get ready to explore the universe within and around us. Time for November.
Yes. We're going to talk about November.
All right. Was there a general theme that came up for you when you were looking through it?
So there will be three planets going into retrograde.
Retrograde.
We love
Wait,
retrogrades.
did nothing go into retrograde in October?
Good question. I did not check that.
Because we didn't talk about that. Holy shit.
Yeah, well, it definitely stood out for November. Just looking at my little like astrology calendar, we have three, and what's crazy is like each planet enters it each week. So we have one planet entering retrograde each week within November.
Okay. So lots of retrogrades.
Lots of retrograde energy.
All right. I was going to say the overarching theme I'm seeing in mine is relationships.
Whoa.
Like,
Interesting.
yeah, I was kind of like definitely around relationships and the people you're surrounding yourself with is what I kind of felt. But also letting go of your own toxic traits a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say I definitely like when it came to if relationship aspect, I would say relationship with yourself more so is how I see the energy.
Okay.
But we'll dig more deep into it because I could also see it where it's like external relationships as well for one planet.
No, and I think it definitely could also be some internal relationship you're having with yourself and understanding that a little bit more. All right, so starting, we do our overall theme for the month, followed by week 1, 2, 3, 4, and then positive or negative. And so our overall theme for this month was the Ace of Cups reverse. And this is the first time I pulled this card, so that was exciting.
Oh,
it was like,
we got a new one.
Yep, unlocking new characters. And so our Ace of Cups, and so cups are definitely emotions, they say, because they represent water.
Yeah.
And anytime a cup is flipped over, it's like, they say it's like dumping out that emotion, essentially. And so Ace of Cups, what I kind of looked at was it typically symbolizes love, healing, self-love, purity. But when it's in the reverse side of it, we could be struggling to recognize some of our own self-love and like that care, or maybe it could also mean somebody else was coming into your life potentially and you're not letting them in right now
like closing yourself off.
Yep, we're closing ourselves off a little bit. So that's the overarching theme. And so I guess that really probably goes more aligned with that personal side of it. I think I was just looking kind of at some these ones where we get into conflict with people.
No, that's definitely retrograde energy right there, right? Because if you guys remember, retrograde is when we take a step back, reflect, do a lot of that inner work. So that's I would say that's spot on money, at least from what I'm seeing in the stars.
And what date's the first retrograde? What week, I guess?
So it's I would say like the first full week of November. So the week of the 3rd, we have Uranus, the planet of rebellion, innovation, change. That's actually retrograding into Taurus because right now it's in Gemini. So it's going into Taurus. Taurus is the ruler of like our second house, so our self-worth, our assets, again, that self-value. So what does that mean? It means taking a step back and starting to think long term finance wise and also self-worth wise, right? Like reflecting on um how do you like what do you see yourself worthy as? Like are you making that effort to show like saying I am worthy of this? And it goes perfectly with our full moon in Taurus that week because another Taurus, self-worth, assets. Full moons are for letting go and releasing. So with this full moon, hopefully you're dumping all of that, negative thinking, these limiting beliefs that are holding you back from whatever your financial goals are, and just opening up the doors to more self-love and like giving yourself more value. And so you're definitely, not only doing that dumping, but then Uranus is retrograding into that Taurus sign as well, and it's going to push you to start reflecting and thinking about that more.
All right, and so week one, and so it's interesting because like we don't talk before we like
Yeah.
pull and like do all the
We
things.
don't, guys. We're telling the truth.
And so I'm like, that's so week one in tarot is the Devil reverse and Judgment, and both these cards honestly are very similar. So the Devil reverse is letting go of bad toxic habits.
Whoa, holy smokes. That's crazy.
Which is what is the new moon letting go.
Yeah.
And the Judgment is giving you that space to like move past that heaviness, get past that judgment, letting go. And I'm just like, that's why I was curious because these are such strong cards. That's why I was
I
like, okay,
know.
what did your week one have before I influence it in any way?
I just say, man, I don't know if it's like coincidence or what, but it's just crazy how, we see these similar themes and messages between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, that's definitely your week of like that first full week of November.
Yeah.
I will say too, Mars, the planet of action,
Mm-hmm.
enters Sagittarius, which is the sign of, travel, philosophy, um, belief systems as well.
Okay.
So that's usually like our ninth house. And so
Mm-hmm.
Sagittarius is a ruler of that. So as Mars goes into that, you're probably going to, start thinking, gain into those, philosophical thoughts of just life, my purpose,
Mm-hmm.
getting into that mindset. So I think it pairs well as you're in that, mindset. You're starting to dump out all this like negativity and negative thoughts you have about yourself
Mm-hmm.
so that you enter a better state.
Yeah, and I think you know with it being such a powerful, they're so like it's not just like you're letting go of this or that. It's big things that you're talking about letting go. And these
Yeah.
are both two major arcana cards. They weren't in minors. They were big things that are
Yeah.
happening that we're releasing and we're allowing ourselves to let go of. Which I think is probably like coming out of October. So like when this
Yeah, I
all
know.
right, all these
After this
birds.
intense month, yeah,
uh
you're gonna be doing a lot of reflection.
mhm,
I would definitely say it's a perfect time to do shadow work if you don't already do that or into that. If you don't know what that
mhm,
is, look it up. It is essentially, I use it more of like the journal prompting
mhm,
to kind of ask me questions that are focused on trying to identify what are my toxic traits, right? Because you don't really know. A lot of people aren't self-aware, and for the ones that are,
mhm.
all kudos to you for doing that work. But definitely worth, taking the time to do that. I mean, even if you're living a great life, like it's always good to reflect on yourself because that's how we improve. Is
Mhm.
checking in on ourselves.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I'm a big supporter of like therapy and things like that. And I
Mm-hmm.
tell people all the time, like, even if you just every now and again you're talking to somebody to let that stuff get out of your head
Yeah.
and having that third party that can come back and judge you for it because guess what,
Yeah.
they're not part of your day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same thing, working on shadow work, that inner thought, becoming more introspective and like what's happening in my life and things like that. I think it's very powerful to do. So and that week one could be a very motivator for you to do it because we have all the things in place to saying, hey, it's time to release them and look at
Yeah.
those different things that are happening.
Yeah, I would definitely even encourage like doing some creative works, like kind of finding your
Mm-hmm.
outlet for that is another way. I know, for some people it's visual where they're painters, they, do graphics and stuff like that. Others it's words, it's writing. That's more like within my speed, where that's how I'm able to express myself the best, is through writing it out. And others are talkers, chatters, like they need to talk, to be talking to someone. That's where, like, that's why people recommend therapy, because if you're a chatty Cathy, like, it's gonna be perfect. You're gonna have
Yeah.
somebody who's just gonna be taking it all in, hearing you out, no judgment. So
No, for sure. And then it's so funny. So like when we talk about like creativity and stuff like that, so TikTok has been trying to get me to be a painter. I have so many hobbies. I have tarot. I have books. I
I was
have
gonna
writing.
yeah.
We're
And
about to start roller skating on Saturday.
you keep adding to the list, dude. I love that. You're fearless, and you know what? I'm gonna add another Pokemon to my collection.
And so that's why I like keep seeing the watercolor paintings. So I'm like, I could do that. I could totally do that. And so I told Juan that, you know how everybody habit stacks? I'm learning how to hobby stack. So I'm like writing letters about books and reading tarot all at the same time.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I was like, hobbies are so good for your soul, I think, too. It just keeps you
Yeah.
balanced. So all right, well, so we're letting go in week 1, moving over to week 2. For tarot, we got the 2 of Wands reversed. And so what we're getting there is like, typically if it was upright, we made a decision and we're sticking to it and we're going forward with it. But when it's reversed, we're probably struggling in between 2 things. We don't know what to do. It can kind of come down a little bit to, maybe you've taken on too much responsibility too. And so you have so much on your plate, you don't know which direction to go a little bit.
Okay.
Is where our 2's kind of leading us, because 2's are always about balance and decisions. And so we're out of balance right now.
Yeah.
And we don't know which path we even move forward with. And so I guess what's happening in astrology, and like where are we going retrograde, because we're hitting another one, you said.
Yeah. So I stand corrected. Actually, that full second week of November, we have 2 retrogrades. Oh, goody.
Oh, look at that, 2 things.
So Mercury will be in Sagittarius. It'll be a Mercury retrograde. Sagittarius, again, ruler of travel, philosophical belief systems. So expect there to be, that's where kind of I see anytime people are like travel delays, miscommunications. That's usually when I see it, is like, because it aligns with the Sagittarius energy of like traveling and you know, uh, public speaking, because that's all like ninth house related stuff. So we could see that where, you just run into hiccups if you have trips planned, if you have these big speeches, anytime you're trying to communicate, uh, it's you're gonna be getting just these moments where it's not perfect. So like you can take that as like a little learning nugget and reflect on it, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have just said that.
Right.
you
I was
know?
gonna say, so like we have like other planets going into retrograde. However, I feel like the one we hear the most about is Mercury retrograde.
Yeah.
Is it because it's communication, and communication just plays such a big role that impacts everything we do?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it is. I think that's why they, make such a big deal out of it, of giving it all this attention, is because it is the planet of communication, and how you connect with people. So it's evident that you could see it, right? Um, And I would say, I mean, that's just a general. If we want to get like into the nitty gritty of how is that specifically going to impact me, again, it goes back to knowing your rising and uh, seeing what specific uh, house, Sagittarius is in for you,
Mm-hmm.
that you'll be able to like really, see the personal impact from that retrograde.
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, like I'm a Sagittarius rising, that's my first house. So that's my appearance.
So it's coming for you.
So it's, for me, with Mercury retrograde and Sagittarius, my first house of like appearance and just like outward expression. I definitely don't want to do anything crazy, like trying to, paint my hair. I think it's gonna be a time where it's taking the time to think about it, like, what do I want to, like, how do I want to express my style? Because I've noticed that, like, it usually during the fall time, as these planets start entering like that Sag energy, at least for me, because it's my
Mm-hmm.
first house, I start thinking about, how do I want to like look outwardly? How can I express what's inside, like outside, like through my
Mm.
wardrobe, through like my hairstyle, um, things like little things like that.
Okay.
Without even thinking about it. It's so weird,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because even though you would think, oh, well, you're just reading it all the time, it's like ingrained in your head. I don't think about this stuff. Like I read it, and I definitely like am somebody where I don't, it. I don't grasp it, and I'm like constantly like, oh my gosh, like looking for it. It's definitely a read, okay, don't think about it at all, and then it's not until I come back to it where I'm like, oh shit, like I was pretty right.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty weird.
It's like what they can do when they're listening to the episode. Like, oh, okay, cool. And then come back and be like,
Yeah.
oh, wait, shit. They
There
were
was so
right.
yeah, there were like there's so many like, similarities from what they were saying to what was kind of going on in my life.
Yeah, that's why I love editing these like later because I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I was like, oh man, that was so accurate. Like we did that. That's happening to us right now. Especially like the eclipse one that we did, because since we edited in the middle of the month, eclipses were already happening a little bit, still
Yeah.
coming potentially, and so it's just interesting to see how that played out. So, um, no, so that's interesting though. So just and we'll definitely talk more retrogrades one day.
Yeah,
So
no, for sure. And
yeah.
so the other just planet retrograde that we have is
Okay.
Jupiter. So
Okay.
that's the planet of expansion, abundance. Right now it's in Cancer, which is, the ruler of the fourth house. So like home, family. I always like to think of it as kind of like your life's foundations of like what foundation's
I
gonna
like
make
that.
you secure and stuff too.
Mhm.
Um, and so as Jupiter kind of retrogrades back in those kind of themes, I think you're gonna start to think more about kind of like long-term living. It could be from, where do I want to like live? Am I happy where I'm living? Uh, where do I want to find like stability and security? Like what makes me feel stable and secure? You may
Interesting.
also see, I don't know if relationships with family might
Mhm.
come up, some things there. Um, whether that's good or bad depends how you see it. But again, right, if we're retrograding, it has to be something that's going to make you reflect.
Mhm.
So that event, whatever it is, it's pushing you to reflect on something and realize
Okay.
something related to, I would say just what you want in your home
Mhm.
family life and just like your just general life's foundations,
Yeah.
right?
Like, it makes sense that we have our two of wands with two retrogrades because our two of
Yeah.
wands reverses. There's a lot going on. We don't know how to like handle it, make that decision. Having two planets in retrograde is probably going to cause some of those big emotions, especially when they're two very different things
Yeah.
that we're dealing with. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like maybe lean into one versus the other. Like I don't know, I've always had good things happen for me in Mercury retrograde.
Lucky you.
So I've always like the opposite path. I prefer Mercury retrogrades. My Gemini does thrive when my Mercury is doing its thing up in the sky. So,
What's gonna be good for you then? You
I
got three of
know.
them.
Well, Mercury retrograde. The other two. So, all right.
Oh.
Well, going into week 3. So, this month, like, we had more reversals in the first half, nothing reversed in our second half. Um, and so kind of like, reversals aren't always bad. Sometimes they're good too.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes it a little easier to read the cards sometimes when they're upright. And so we two dropped, like cards were flying like over here. And we have the Eight of Pentacles as well as the Knight of Pentacles. They both came out together for week 3. And so what the eight represents, so he is working on his eighth pentacle. So he's like a worksman, craftsman. And so it represents that journey and like you're persisting through, you're gonna do it. However, you might be questioning like, is it worth it? Like, is all this hard work really going to pay off? And then we have our Knight of Pentacles that came with it. And I think it makes a lot of sense that they came together because the Knight is telling you, yes, it is. Like if you see some of the other knights that come out, we have our Knight of Swords, our Knight of Wands. Most of them are like racing, they're running. Our Knight of Pentacles, it's just standing there, slowly walking, maybe, and taking in the journey, and it's okay. And so but we got there. And so I think it's our eight of, we're doing all this hard work. Are we going to get there? And our Knight's like, we're going to get there. Like, we're going to get to where we want to get to. The hard work is going to pay off.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be the beginning of a new project or something like that. And it can also, like, if we go back into, like, maybe not accepting people in, kind of that Ace of Cups, we were a little hesitant. The Knight of Pentacles can also tell us, like, hey, maybe somebody new is coming into your life that maybe you should hire, or you should take their help, or things like that. Is kind of what they're telling us. So if we're working really hard, maybe somebody that's coming up in our life is somebody that we should let into our life as well.
Okay,
So
that's interesting. Yeah, I would say that, for the third week of November, um, what I'm seeing is so Mercury is still in retrograde, but actually shifts into Scorpio. It goes from Sagittarius to
mm-hmm,
Scorpio. And we also have a new moon in Scorpio. So we have that Scorpio energy coming in again. It really depends. I mean, I would still think it's, intensity in the
mm-hmm,
way, but more of like that inward intensity. I think Scorpio is the ruler of the eighth house, which I always like to associate that house with mental health, and
mm-hmm.
I think it's the house of like death, I want to say as well. Not that I'm saying anybody's gonna die. But it's interesting that you're getting this like new beginning, new project
Mm-hmm.
energy. Um,
It also could be like the eight, we've been working through a project. The Knight
yeah,
just lets you know, like, hey, it's okay maybe to accept help, things like that. But
yeah,
the Knight, both of them are very diligent, dedicated through this process.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I mean, it may be that um, with Scorpio, I know that there is, that dedication when you are deeply passionate
Mm-hmm.
about something. So you may be seeing that and whatever it is, and again, very dependent, right? Because if you were like a Scorpio rising,
Mm-hmm.
that's like your first house. So that's like
Okay.
again appearance outward. So it's different, right, for you than for another rising sign that has Scorpio in another
Mm-hmm.
house.
No, I was like, it's interesting kind of to see them all together, but they can still connect in some way, for
Yeah.
sure. So our last week, so our fourth one ends with our Seven of Wands. And the Seven of Wands is definitely about conflict a little bit. Maybe you are standing up for yourself, maybe something's happening to you. And so it's very much self protection
Hmm.
in our last week of the month. And so it's just standing your ground, being firm on whatever it is, you're not backing down. That's really what going to our fourth week is kind of like looking like right now. To match up with what's going on over in the stars.
Um, I would say so. We have so Mercury actually gets out of retrograde 29, so that's good.
Okay.
And then Saturn, the planet of uh, boundary
Mm,
structure, it also leaves retrograde. So it's
okay.
going direct into Pisces,
Hmm.
which is a more like dreamy merging sign. So I definitely think there's energy there of kind of working towards like rebuilding something almost.
Yeah, I think like talking about Saturn and boundaries is very similar to the Seven of Wands, setting those
Hmm.
boundaries
Yeah.
around yourself and sticking to them, being okay with telling people no and things like that. So I think there's definitely some parallels there in the tarot and the stars.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would definitely say, again, depending on where Pisces falls in your chart, right? Saturn, once it goes direct, that's, it's going to be like, all right, now you got to, all that stuff you were contemplating about when Saturn was in retrograde, time to put it into action
Okay.
almost, because it's in direct now. Like,
Hmm.
let's make some moves.
Okay. And so that was the first week, again, right? Was our kind of like because we have the devil letting go of stuff and things like that.
Yeah.
Very similar to what you were having there with the full moon or new moon. Full moon or new moon? Full moon.
There's two. So there's a full moon in Taurus the
Okay.
first week,
The first
and
week,
then
yeah.
there's a new moon
At the
in
end.
Scorpio the third
Yeah.
week. Yeah.
So that kind of makes sense, kind of like that our
You got,
energy that we had at the beginning of the month
yeah,
was
it's
like,
like more
hey, we're letting
contemplative.
go, things
Yeah.
like that. By the end of the month, we're setting these boundaries, we're keeping to them. We've done
Yeah.
the work
Yeah.
this month. Like, because it, like in looking at it that way, like the first week we are letting go of something and we were okay letting go. The second week we're still struggling. Like it was a lot. It was heavy.
Yeah.
We didn't know how to let go of it. In our third week though, like we are working through, we're pushing through, we're wondering, is this going to pay off? And by week 4 we're setting that boundary.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's like looking at it now as like a whole versus individual weeks
Yeah.
very much tells a story that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
No, I would definitely say like November is going to be just the theme of contemplation, definitely. And towards the end of November, that's when you'll start to be like, okay, cool. I did my thinking, my noodling, my contemplating, and now it's time to like put it into action, essentially.
yeah, I like it. And so we'll end with our before we do a recap, I guess. Our positive or negative for the tarot. And so we got the 5 of Wands. So we had a lot of Pentacles wand with a lot of wands. Half of them are wands here.
Yeah.
And so this card, a lot of people look at it and just see conflict. Like they're fighting,
Mm.
there's 5 people, there's conflict happening. However, I've also read it as, are they playing?
Oh.
Like it's not necessarily they are fighting. They like, you don't see
Yeah.
any like specifically angry faces.
Yeah, I
Like they're
was even
very
thinking of, are they
neutral.
building together? Like, are
Hmm.
they working together? Is kind of how I saw it.
Yeah, and so that's where like I would say some people probably are a little divided on what it means, but I think it all depends on the situation. And so really collaboration a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and how you accept things. But even if, let's say, there's not people, we have 3 retrogrades happening. And so we can look at it as there's 3 things happening to us. There's a lot going on. How are we going to respond to it? Are we going to fight it all? And
Yeah.
if we're fighting it all, probably isn't going to be the best month for you. Or are you going to accept it and like kind of zig and zag a little bit
Yeah.
on how it works, so that it can be a positive month? I think, every time I'm going to tell you it could be either one,
Yeah.
but it's going to matter of what things you're navigating in that month and
Mm-hmm.
how they can be good or bad. Whereas last month it was all about ego. In October, this month in November, it is how are you handling maybe multiple things coming at you at once?
Yeah.
Are you accepting them and working on them? Or are you just like, nope, I don't want this, and you're fighting it all?
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's literal sense of the 5 of Wands in collaboration with people versus fighting with people, or just all the different things that are coming at you with these retrogrades.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of seeing it that way where, again, as we ourselves are reflecting on our own behaviors, right? The whole purpose is then to hopefully integrate it into the world. We have to learn how to coexist with each other, and that's kind of how I'm seeing it, where the theme is you're being pushed to reflect, because it may even be that you're on the other spectrum where you're like you love yourself to the point of you're, encroaching in others'
Mm-hmm.
limelight, and you being pushed to reel it back in, um so that you are able to coexist and share the spotlight with others.
Yeah.
So it could be on either or. It doesn't necessarily have to be that you don't think yourself worthy. You may think yourself very, very worthy,
Mm-hmm.
um but you're doing it at the cost of somebody else's limelight. So
Yeah.
I definitely think like it's pretty spot on with towards the end of learning how to coexist
Mm-hmm.
after doing all this like internal self-reflection work.
Yeah. I love it. So, a real quick recap, we had our Ace of Cups as our overarching theme, reversed Ace of Cups. So, because of that water pouring out,
Mm-hmm.
we maybe are struggling to accept a new idea, things like that. And then week 1, we had the Devil in reverse in Judgment, which both of them basically are letting go of something toxic, releasing it, and judgment is allowing yourself to do so. Moving to our Two of Wands reverse for week 2. Maybe we're overwhelmed. We can't make that decision. We're kind of stuck. We've had this card before too, so it won't be our first time. And then into week 3, we have our Eight of Pentacles paired with our Knight. Our Eight is wondering, am I doing the right thing? Is it worth all this effort I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
And our Knight is telling us, yes, it is. It's going to pay off. Keep going. And slow, meticulous. We're not in a race on this one. And then our 4th week, we have our Seven of Wands, which typically will represent some kind of conflict or standing up for yourself, that courage, and really just setting that boundary around yourself. And then ending with our positive and negative Five of Wands. And you get to choose if you are going to accept all the things that are coming to you and work with them, or work against them all. And
Yeah.
so that'll dictate if it'll be positive or negative for you.
Yeah, and that definitely aligns with, the planet transits that we're seeing, where for that first week, right, we have our full moon in Taurus along with Uranus retrograding into Taurus. We're really being pushed to do that self-reflection um on on ourselves, on our self-worth, on our, assets. What basically, how do we see ourselves in how do we define ourselves in terms of worthiness? um and with that, we get pushed into almost like, continuing to reflect that and really contemplating, like, am I making the right moves, as we're trying to communicate with others, right? And trying to express even our belief systems with Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius. um we're gonna be thrown these instances of, oh, maybe I didn't communicate that right, or it should be something to make you realize something about yourself. Along with Jupiter retrograde in Cancer, right? You're gonna feel like, well, what does this tie back to? Like, my stability, like, how does that affect it? um and making those connections, and then entering our third week, we go into this Scorpio energy where Mercury shifts into the sign of Scorpio, still in retrograde. And we also have a new moon in Scorpio. And I didn't think about this until now, but I believe that, and I'll double check this, but the eighth house is also transformation. It could be that as you're going through, all these different events for the past 2 weeks, it's now this week where you're going to start seeing new beginnings, because that's what a new moon is, and transforming into how you're supposed to show up in the world so that you're able to work with others, coexist with others. That makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love it. All right. Well, that is November and the stars and the cards for you.
That's right. And be sure to add comments, guys. We really want to know how accurate you were and hear about what events and instances you've come across, because it'd be very interesting to see, if we were spot on, or we got to keep hitting the books.
We're still learning.